Mr. Deshrata Nigam joins us at this stage and also Mr. KTS Tulsi. Mr. Tulsi, the argument which has been mentioned by the Congress party is that this is a case of political vendetta, that there is no threat of Mr. Chidambaram fleeing the country. On the other hand, the CBI says that the charges against him are very, very serious and given the observations of the High Court yesterday, a lot of people would say that perhaps the CBI needs to go ahead with this entire process. What are your thoughts on today's developments and where the case stands?
You see, Mr. Chidambaram is before the Supreme Court. He has filed a petition, his lawyers are present there, and it can't be said that he is fleeing. I'm getting
You're getting an echo. All right, we'll fix that, sir. We'll fix that, sir. Can we fix that echo urgently, please? All right. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Tulsi. We can hear you. Yes.
Yes. He is in legal fiction before the Supreme Court. And there is no problem about that because petitions have been filed. The process of listing is on. And to say that he is he's fled or he's made himself scarce or not available is wrong. He can't be, he knows that he'll be harassed by media, by various other people if he goes back to the place. He's entitled to his, the legal remedies that are available, that are conferred by the Constitution, and it can't be said to his disadvantage that merely because there is a delay in the process of listing, therefore, he is guilty of any wrongdoing. He has to face the law. He knows that. He is a very responsible person, and he will go through. Apart from that, I want to say one thing, that the entire case seems to be built up. I don't know, but that's the impression that I get. Built up on the basis of statement of Indrani Mukherjee. Now, Indrani is herself undergoing a sentence. These people, the approvers, so-called approvers, are called unworthy friends. They already have jumped boat from one to the other and from second to the third and third to the fourth. But this statement of Indrani can't be seen to be the statement which is free of inducement, threat or promise. Each one of them would have played upon our mind, and a desirable statement can be taken. It will have zero credibility. Zero credibility. And in any case, there is also a technical decision. In Jayendra Saraswati, the Supreme Court decided that a co-conspirator, if the accused is a co-conspirator and accused makes a statement against the other co-accused, then it is irrelevant if that statement is being made after the conspiracy has ended. This statement is relevant only if it was made during when the conspiracy was afoot, and that's the law which has been laid down by Privy Council onwards, and the Supreme Court has followed it each and every time. Okay. So I really think that the case has been built on inadmissible evidence.
All right,
and the High Court may have not taken this into account.
All right, Mr. Tulsi, one moment. I want to go across to Deshrata Nigam, sir. What was the incredible urgency to try and move in on Mr. Chidambaram, post all of those things on his door? When he was applying for anticipatory bail, it was known to all of the agencies that he would go to the Supreme Court. His lawyers argue that he's not going to run away from this country. Was there ever a serious fear that that was going to happen?
See, the fact remains, one has to make a distinction between the requirement of the investigative agencies for custodial interrogation and fleeing the country. The LOC was issued, I think, today itself, and that is different from custodial interrogation, and those two distinctions have to be kept in mind. Now, secondly, I am sure Mr. Tulsi has also not seen the statement of Indrani Mukherjee or subsequent recoveries or evidences which have come out, nor have I seen. It is in the hands of the agencies and they will not make it public unless and until they do that custodial interrogation. They may also like to confront after custodial taking Mr. Chidambaram into custody, to confront with Indrani Mukherjee, which has been done in many cases. So, at this stage to say to rule out any possibility cannot be done by any. I mean, I can understand Mr. Tulsi can be a very good defense lawyer, but the fact remains those options are open, and so far as the protection that was given by the High Court was over the moment that judgment was passed, any investigative agency would immediately swoop on the accused and take him into custodial interrogation if that was the requirement there.
No, but Mr. Deshrata Nigam, if we look at this case itself, one of the arguments which has been given by Mr. Chidambaram and those close to him is that he has appeared in court on all occasions. Whenever he was not in court, he's appeared before the investigators on all occasions. Whenever he was asked a question, he was there to answer it. This is a process that's been going on for several months, for more than a year, in fact. Apparently, this case in the High Court was there for approximately 7 months. The entire issue of bail. Why is it that all of a sudden, after several of these hearings never took place, all of a sudden overnight these very strong words are made whereby he's named the kingpin in this entire thing?
See, let me tell you, those are prima facie observations, not an judgment about guilt. And secondly, Mr. Chidambaram was enjoying the interim stay that was provided to him all throughout, and the High Court especially noted that he has been evasive in his replies, and therefore, the custodial interrogation is required, and also on the enormity of the prima facie evidence, that is reading of the evidence available on record. So, the fact remains that the court has not passed any judgment on the guilt of a person concerned. They have said prima facie there is a case against him, prima facie there is an evidence on record, and therefore, and he has been evasive on many occasions. Maybe he has participated, but he has been evasive. So, more custodial interrogation is required, and also after the change of circumstances when Indrani Mukherjee became an approver, what is there before with the investigative agency is a matter of speculation I or Mr. KTS Tulsi can do on the basis of the law. But the fact is, what agency has it with right now is the only agency can tell, nobody else.
Mr. Tulsi, the remarks or the observations made by the High Court themselves were very strong. He's been named as the kingpin in this entire thing. The gravity of the offence was considered to be very significant, and on the argument which has been made by the Congress, the High Court yesterday said it was preposterous to say that the prosecution of Mr. Chidambaram is baseless, politically motivated, and an act of vendetta. Now, I know this is just an observation, it's not a ruling by any means, but is a statement as strong as this not likely to also have a significant bearing on the mind of the Supreme Court when this comes up on Friday?
No, while deciding bail applications, the courts have to be very careful. They just have to indicate the reason. They can't make an observation of this kind, which actually affects his right of fair trial. This kind of a statement, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer in this case, but if it is based on Indrani Mukherjee's statement or confession as an approver.
No, it is not. It is completely not based, Mr. Tulsi, it is not based on Indrani's.
You can't take into account the statement of a co-accused. Pardon me?
Mr. Tulsi, Deshrata Nigam pointing out that according to him, it's not based on.
I'm only saying the Indrani
Mukherjee. It was reserved long
Mukherjee's.
time back, and she turned approver on 25th July. So, around 21st of July. So, therefore, it is not. It has not been considered in this.
You see, that's all right. If it is not taken into account, that's another matter. If it is taken into account, and just now I think earlier you said that Indrani Mukherjee's statement as an approver has been recorded, it's irrelevant.
Not recorded. I never said recorded.
Because the statement is being made long after. The statement is irrelevant because it's being made long after the conspiracy ended.
But Mr. Tulsi, let me ask you
It
this,
can
irrespective of whether
be
or not this is
taken
based
into
on the
account by the
confession
courts
of
only if it is legal evidence.
yeah,
It's not
so
legal
irrespective
evidence.
of whether this is based on the confession of Indrani Mukherjee as an approver
It's
in this
not
case,
legal evidence.
one of the points mentioned by Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who is one of the lawyers representing Mr. Chidambaram in this particular case, is that the decision to grant clearance, this FIPB clearance, was not done exclusively by Mr. Chidambaram. There was a board of 4 or 5 officials in the finance ministry who reached a consensus on the basis of which this decision was taken. Very reputed people who went on to serve in some other positions later. So if there is an allegation that there was money which was received by Karti Chidambaram or Mr. Chidambaram or one of the accused in this case, how is it then that all of the others had backed this decision to go ahead with this investment in INX Media?
That's true.
Isn't this therefore
That's
very
true.
much part of the sum and
The entire
substance of this
process,
case?
See, no. Question is, do they have independent evidence with regard to payment of 305 crore or not? If they are only relying on the statement of Indrani Mukherjee and whatever else she is saying, she is spinning a story, a spinning yarn, then there is no evidence at all. But these High Court's observations ought to have been muted. This affects his right of fair trial. This is actually a judgment of conviction. This is not a judgment denying bail.
Okay, those are very strong terms over there. I'd like to thank both of you very much for joining.
That itself will be is liable to be expunged.
Just one, well, let's see what actually happens. Now, just in terms of why it's coming up on Friday, we are told, as per the procedure of the Supreme Court, any petition filed after Monday comes up for hearing on Friday. So therefore, there is no urgent hearing, and Mr. Chidambaram's plea for an urgent hearing has been rejected. It comes up in its regular course as an anticipatory bail plea on Friday. So we'll be looking out for that very much indeed. I'd like to thank Deshrata Nigam and Mr. Tulsi.